Hello SEO for Startups. So there's a bit of a change to the format for this week's live video in the fact that it's actually going to be pre-recorded. We're going to run through some bits around Schema. You guys put your votes in for what information you wanted us to cover from an SEO point of view, and local SEO and link building, I believe, were the top two. So we'll cover different aspects of both of them over the next couple of weeks. We wanted to start with the local SEO, mainly because it was the most voted for. And one aspect that we wanted to cover that we have spoke about a couple of times in previous live videos is Schema Markup. So Schema Markup is used not just for local SEO, but for e-commerce and multiple different things, video, reviews, all that sort of thing. But it's really important from a local SEO point of view. And what we wanted to do is run through kind of what Schema is, why it's useful, how to implement it. We've got a couple of good tools as well that we're going to give out, and then how to test it afterwards to make sure that what you've done correctly been put in place. The reason we're doing it as a live video is because there's a lot of data that we want to show you, a lot of tools that we want to show you online, and us walking around with the video probably won't work that well for this. So Schema Markup is essentially markup that you add to your website to kind of describe what items are on there. So it's used quite a lot, like I say, for reviews, for video content, movies, that sort of thing, to describe to Google, essentially, in the format that we're using it, to describe to Google what information is on the page and give it a more structured way of finding that information. So Google can crawl your website anyway. It can see potentially that you've got reviews on your website, but it doesn't know how many reviews you've got, what rating them reviews are, what average rating you've got across all the reviews on your website. So because of that, we can use Schema then to actually format that data in an easier to understand way, so that it can then help Google understand what information is on that page and get more data from your website. So as I mentioned, there's a couple of different kind of examples. The one that's on the screen at the minute is a plumbing company. So in this example, they're only really using the rating schema. They're probably also using the local SEO schema, which I'll come on to as well. But what it does is it gives you a what's called a rich snippet. So this is a Google search result that has additional information from the standard. So we can see here, the top result here actually just has your standard title tag, website URL and meta description underneath. So that's your kind of standard listing. A couple down you can see a listing from Checker Trade, which has your title, your URL and your description, but it then also has this little Schema markup. So it gives you the little star rating. It will tell you what the rating is out of 10 and then how many reviews you've had across the platform, in this case checkertrade.com. So it's really good, not only for giving that information to Google and making it easier for Google to then understand more about what's on the website, but also it's great for a conversion point of view. So there's more chance of people coming through, clicking on your results, and then going through to your website. And it stands out. You can see within the listings here, the two that are in the middle do stand out more so than the ones that are around it. It's not just for reviews. You've also got things like recipes. So this is a great example as well. So the top one, BBC Good Food. You've got here the rating and the review for the recipe itself, but then you've also got additional information, how long it takes to cook, how many calories, that sort of thing as well. So you can really go to town essentially with your Schema markup. And I'll show you a couple of examples of how you do that for different items. The third example on here is a film. So again, this is using your review rating for films itself. The reviews themselves tends to be the most commonly used Schema markup, or the most commonly used that you can see. The local business information will probably be more used, but that's not shown on the front end of Google. So all of this, there's a massive post that's been done by a company called Built Visible, and I'll share the link to this afterwards. It goes on for quite a lot, but it runs right into kind of Gmail. It runs right into a load of different things, site links, review schema, recipe schema, all of the different ones that are there. So I'll share the link for that afterwards. It'd be good for you guys to check out. It works, Schema itself works off schema.org. So schema.org shows you all of the different types of schema markups you can kind of use. So here you've got person, organization, events. So event schema is really good for, say, concerts, that sort of thing that are happening, or actual sports events, live events, that sort of thing. You can mark them all up with information. It then gives more info to Google itself. So you can come onto here and have a look at the different schema types. It might be quite difficult to understand if you're not used to schema and that sort of thing. So have a look on here, but if it is too tricky to understand, we do have a different website that we can share with you, essentially, that allows you to build that markup and choose the different schemas that you want. So this website, again, I'll share the link for it, is a schema markup generator. So what it does, it allows you to pick the different types of schemas that are available. So on here they have website, breadcrumbs, person, organization, local business, article, product, events, recipes, and job postings. The one that we'll cover in this video itself is just the local business one. It's the one that's most commonly used, and also it's the one that's going to have the best impact from a local SEO point of view. So we've discussed numerous times in the past around local SEO and things like NAP information, your name, address, and phone number, making sure that your name, address, phone number is perfect across your own website, but then also on any local citations that you build. So that information being on your website, again, you can put it in the normal format where you just add your address to your footer, or say you add it to a contact page, and Google will pick that up. But putting it in schema markup just allows Google it makes it easy for Google to understand your address. So if you're using the example on here, on this schema markup generator, you choose your different type of your business type, essentially. So on here we've just chose professional service. I would say that on this there is a very small number of categories, so just try and pick the one that relates as closely to you as possible, but there probably won't be a specific one for you, but have a go and try and relate to it as close as you can. You then add your company name, your link to your logo. Just pull your logo off your website and just get the URL to where it's located and add that into here. You then add your website URL and your phone number. You then add pricing as well. So your pricing itself is based on a price range. So that is either a single, a double, or a triple pound sign or dollar sign. Triple dollar sign is the most expensive. Single is the least. I'll share a link as well to what sort of brackets they fit into. You then add your business address, and one thing I will note that on this tool itself, it does seem to be geared towards more towards the US, so you will get almost like a little error message, as you can see there, around the postcode, because it doesn't understand UK postcodes in this example, but then also potentially other countries around the world. But put it in anyway, because it does still add the information in the correct place on the right hand side, and Google will understand that more. You add your country and then you select a state. Again, I think because this is the UK, it doesn't allow us to select a state, but that's not, I won't worry too much about that. You add your opening hours, so add any of the hours that your business is open. I believe you can add 24 hours a day. And you can add Monday to Sunday. If there's any days where you're not open, just don't add them into this list. You can then add what's called same as links. So these are just links to your social and other kind of websites, GitHub repos, that sort of thing. So add all of them in, and what you'll be left with on the right hand side is a load of code, essentially. So don't worry too much about the breakdown of this code, what it is, what it means, how it works, that sort of stuff. Essentially, you just need to copy it and then implement that onto your website, which I'll come on to in a second. Now, as you can see here on the code, there's two formats. There's what's called JSON LD, and there's also something called microdata. So microdata and JSON LD are two very different types of the same thing. So they're different ways of implementing schema onto your website. The example that I will use within this, and probably will recommend to people to use, is JSON LD. There's two reasons for that. One, it is the easiest to implement because with JSON LD, you literally just copy and paste this JavaScript code into the header of your website or onto the page itself. With microdata, you have to essentially work it around the content that's on the page. So if I show you an example on here, so you can see here, this is for the person, the schema markup for a person. And as you can see here, with microdata, you have to work little HTML tags around the information that you want to use. So here you've got the person's name. You have to wrap that and show that on the page itself. Now the issue with that is that sometimes you don't want all of this information. If you have a look at the information that we pulled together for a local business, you might not want that information on the page. You might not be able to design it in the right way, that sort of thing. So it just restricts you somewhat as to what you can actually do with the code. So on here, you look at JSON LD. The JSON LD example within here is really easy to just copy and paste and pop, and it doesn't show on the front of your website. So this will not be visible from someone visiting your website, but when Google crawls your website, they will be able to find it. So there's two ways that you can implement this. Well, there's multiple ways you can implement it, but two main ways. You can either add it straight into the code on the website. So we use a theme on our website. We can copy that JavaScript from here, and then we can then paste that JavaScript into here, save the change, and that will then appear on the head of every page on the website. Now, you can either do it that way, or one way that does tend to work a lot easier if you've got it set up is using something like Google Tag Manager. So Google Tag Manager, for those that don't know, is essentially a tool from Google that allows you to add a tiny bit of JavaScript to your website, and then from that you can implement loads of different tags. So we've got quite a few different ones set up. You can set ones up for schema markup and have that schema markup implemented from Google Tag Manager. Now why that's good is because you don't have to have access to your website at all times, HTML access, FTP access, admin access to your website at all times to make changes once this tag manager is installed. So if we were to add the schema markup to this website using Tag Manager, we'd just add a custom HTML tag. We'd paste the code that we've got from that website into here, and then for a trigger, we'd just trigger it on all pages. And it's as simple as that. Hit save, publish your changes to your website, and then you've implemented schema onto your site. If you haven't set up Tag Manager, that's perfectly fine. I'll again include a link within here on how to do it. It's really simple to do. If you've set up something like Google Analytics or Google Search Console or Facebook Tracking Pixel onto your website, then you will be able to set up Google Tag Manager. But I'll post a link into the description anyway. After you've done all of that, you've obviously implemented the code on your website. What you want to then do is to test it. So you can go on and look at the code, but it's not going to tell you whether you've got the information wrong or whether Google's going to be able to pick it up correctly. So Google have launched a tool, they launched it quite a while ago, called the Structured Data Testing Tool. It used to be called the Rich Snippet Testing Tool, so you may have known it as something different. Again, I'll post a link so you can get to here, but essentially what you do with the Structured Data Testing Tool, I've took an example of the link for the very first example we looked at that showed the reviews. If you copy the URL or essentially paste the URL for your own website into the Structured Data Testing Tool, it will look like this. So you can paste that URL in, click Run Test, and what that will then do is it will then go away, it will crawl the website page that you've put in, it will bring back the code for that website page, and then it will show you on the right hand side the different schemas that have been detected. So on here you can see it's got HCard, which is something that you won't see and it won't show within the Google search results. But you've also got local business. So local business is the one that we've just gone through and we've set up on this tool. So local business itself is the one that describes the information about the business, including name, address, phone number, that sort of thing. So you can see on here when we check out the local business snippet on the right hand side and the information that Google's pulled back, we can see that it's picked up the business name, it's picked up the telephone, it's picked up a description of the business. It's also picked up the aggregate rating. So this is your reviews. This is what's driving the star rating within your Google search results. So on here, you've got the worst rating, the best rating. So this will tell Google, okay, how many are you rating out of? Are you rating it out of 10? Are you rating it out of 5? That way Google can understand what percentage or what star rating you would essentially get. So here we can see that this business has got a 9.85 out of 10. and then that's come from 77 reviews. So what it will do is it will highlight any errors or any warnings. From here you can see that they haven't used an image field within the local business, which is what we added our logo to, and that seems to be a required field within here. And you can see that it will still pull the data back, but realistically you want to make sure you've got as much data in there as possible. And then also price range. So again, that was the pound and the dollar sign that I spoke about before. They haven't included it here, and you just want to try and include it if you can. So this works obviously not just for local business, but also for the other schema markups that were in here. So if you've got an e-commerce site, mark up your products, add your reviews on there, that sort of thing. And just really kind of give your website the best chances essentially of Google understanding what information is on there. So try and mark up as much as possible. That's it for this week. We just wanted to run through the schema. We should be back next week as normal with our local or link building Facebook live video. If you've got any questions on this, if you've got any recommendations, if you want us to cover anything in particular, drop it in the comments of this video, and yeah, we'll come back to you.